Good evening. This is the October 7th meeting of the Revere City Council Zoning Subcommittee. Madam Clerk.
Roll call of the members of the Zoning Subcommittee. Councilor Giannino? Here. Councilor Keefe?
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Councilor and Chairman Zambudo?
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. There's one item on the agenda. This is a special permit application from Dr. Christopher Page, 44 Bradford Street, Boston, Mass., seeking permission from the Revere City Council to expand a non-conforming structure and use, a dentist office, within the RB district by constructing a new addition at 26 Central Ave.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to do this a little bit out of order because I have a department head here who has to be somewhere and he wants to quickly say something about this issue, and then I'll turn it over to the ward councilor. Name and address, please.
Richard Viskey, 87 Harris Street, Revere. I'm just here to speak favorably about the special permit. I've been a patient of Dr. Page's and his father for 20 years. He runs a great business, great family, and I'm just here to support the permit, and I hope you feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a public hearing last meeting, and there was a good presentation by Dr. Page, and also there was some neighborhood input. Not necessarily in opposition, but more of in curiosity. So since the meeting, Dr. Page and some of the concerned residents met, and we had, more specifically, the Raffa family, who lives on Central Ave and have for a very long period of time, wanted to talk with Dr. Page and the builders in regards to what they had as far as some concerns. So the family and some of the neighbors thoughtfully drafted a pretty in-depth list of conditions that they would like to see if Dr. Page would conform with. And after speaking to Dr. Page, he has agreed. So if Madam Clerk would read those into record, we'd be happy to vote on this tonight. One of the last conditions, in speaking with both parties, was the abutter receiving information as to current zoning of the owner's property and permitted use of the property in the event of current owner vacates or sells the property. That one was a little too technical. It wouldn't have really passed or had any teeth, but we assured both parties that any changes or alterations to this special permit would be needed, and it would have to come before the City Council. So because this is already a non-conforming structure, any changes that any businesses decide to do in the future of that current site would have to come before City Council, and all parties were in favor of that. Outside of that, like we mentioned, this is a smaller addition than we had originally anticipated. It's only going to be about 20-foot push out, and they would be doing all of the right striping of the parking lot, all of the proper aesthetics to the current building that would fit the current conditions of the neighborhood, and also doing their best to direct the traffic out of the right driveway. And we're also going to be working on a side note to institute some resident permit parking on Central Ave, which will come up later this evening on a separate motion. So with all of these conditions and the conditions from site plan review, as a Ward 4 council, I'd be in favor of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Keefe, and I want to thank you for your efforts in meeting with the neighbors and the applicant. And this is the way it's supposed to be done. It makes it easy for the chairman to just approve what was done. So this is how we wish every single special permit would work up here. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way, but I appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate the efforts of the neighbors and the applicant. This is really how it's supposed to work. I'm thrilled. Councilor Giannino, you have anything to offer?
I support the ward councilor in his endeavors. I'm glad to see that the neighborhood was able to work with the business and all parties are happy. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay, Councilor Patch, I know you're not on the committee, but you're here, and we welcome your input.
No, I'll just state what Councilor Giannino said, that it is good when the ward councilor, and he did a fine job getting the neighbors together with the owner. And I'll be voting in favor of it.
Councilor McKenna, you want to add anything?
Good job, Pat.
The credit, I give the credit to the Raffa family, actually, so.
Good
There you
job,
go.
Rafa
Me
family.
too. Me too.
Thank you.
Okay, Madam Clerk, you want to call the roll? Please read the conditions into the record.
Shall I read the conditions that were submitted by site plan review first? 1, the parking lot shall be improved and expanded to accommodate 12 parking spaces to be individually marked with new pavement markings. 2, a 6-foot landscape buffer and stockade fence shall be installed between the parking lot and the abutting residential properties. 3, the plan shall be approved by the fire department. 4, the final construction plans shall be reviewed and approved by the city code consultant. 5, a stormwater management plan shall be submitted to the site plan review committee for the new expanded parking area. And the conditions as follows submitted by the abutting neighbors. 1, the applicant property owner, hereby known as the owner, and the abutters, hereby known as the abutters, will reasonably agree on a landscaping plan to provide a natural landscaping buffer on the north side of the owner's lot, running the entire boundary of the owner's lot. The landscaping will include, but not limited to, mature plantings that will provide a natural visual barrier between the owners and the abutters' property. 2, the owner shall direct all patients and visitors to park in either 1, the designated parking spaces behind and adjacent to the owner's building as shown on the owner's site plan, or 2, the municipal parking lots. The owner will direct patients and visitors not to park on Central Ave. The owner will display a notice of said restrictions in conspicuous locations within the owner's building and will use commercially reasonable efforts to notify patients and visitors of said restrictions when scheduling appointments. The owner will stripe the parking spaces as per the owner's site plan and shall restripe the parking spaces as reasonably necessary. 3, the owner shall direct all patients and visitors to utilize only the driveway and access ways servicing the owner's property and not the neighboring driveways and access ways. The owner will sufficiently label and provide signage to indicate proper passageways for the owner's patients and visitors to and from the owner's property. 4, the design of the addition to the owner's building will be visually of a residential nature so as not to resemble a commercial building or structure. The addition will be architecturally compatible with the existing structure. 5, the owner recognizes that the abutting properties experience flooding in times of high precipitation. The owner shall engineer the site so as not to allow or experience excessive runoff of surface water from the owner's lot to the abutter's property, and to provide adequate and sufficient drainage and runoff control for the owner's site during construction and upon completion of the new improvements. And lastly, during construction of the improvements, the owner shall put in place adequate controls to reduce the occurrence of rodent infestation or migration.
Want to call the roll?
Roll call on the special permit subject to the findings and conditions of site plan review in the zoning subcommittee. Councilor Gedino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky is absent. Councilor Rizzo is absent. Chairman Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, the special permit will be forwarded to the full city council this evening, subject to the findings and conditions of the zoning subcommittee.
Thank you. That concludes our zoning subcommittee, and it will be recommended out favorably tonight to the full city council, and I'm sure it will be approved. Thank you for all your efforts, both the neighbors and the applicant, and thank you to the gentleman that helped write the conditions.